Chicago. I was inspired by people like Jesse Jackson. He sort of came to town at the behest of Martin Luther King to start to organize.
Don was a news reporter. So Dr. King would have these rallies. Don would report. So Don was very connected to the civil rights movement.
Chicago at that time, there were riots going on. Martin Luther King even said that Chicago had a unique kind of racism.
That searing racism Don experienced in Chicago was reflected in what he was seeing on television.
The problem is that the Negro in this country today stands for venereal disease, prostitution, the numbers racket, and crime.
It was a medium that didn't feature minorities in a positive way, and it bothered me personally.
There were no black people in media. There were no nightly newscasters that were black. You really didn't have a national representation of black youth, except insofar as it was on the nightly news as urban unrest and protest. You only saw black youth narrated that way.
I had a burning desire to see black people presented on television in a positive light.
In 1968, Don landed a part-time hosting gig at WCIU, the only local TV station with programming that targeted Chicago's large black population.
I was thrown into a situation where they were making television shows, and I saw that as a potential opportunity because I felt I could do it.
Over the next couple of years, Don formulated an idea for his own TV show.
The principal inspiration for Soul Train was American Bandstand and Dick Clark. I wanted to do a black bandstand.
While American Bandstand was the most popular music and dance show of the 1960s, it gave little exposure to black artists.
It was just hard to get on shows like American Bandstand because they were mostly white-oriented.
I've completely forgotten who's next. Is it Gladys Phipps and the Knights?
After over a year of meetings, Don not only convinced his bosses at WCIU of the viability of a black American Bandstand, he walked away with ownership.
I was fully open to them saying, sign here, and this belongs to us. I would have said, no problem. But they didn't say.
Overnight, Don had become one of the first African Americans to own a TV show. The premiere episode hit the Chicago airwaves on August 17th, 1970.
Soul Train, the hippest trip in America. 60 non-stop minutes over the tracks of your mind into the exciting world of soul.
It had a very local look to it. We didn't have color cameras. Part of the reason why we don't have archival footage of the show we did on Channel 26 is because they never got taped.
But what it lacked in polish, it made up for in flavor.
When it came on, it was overnight hot. Almost in minutes, every black person in town knew about it. Not because it was such a wonderful show, but because it was theirs.
It was like, wow, look at this. It gave us something to look at, to see some diversity, and to see ourselves.
You did three things when you got out of school. You watched Soul Train, Speed Racer, and the Three Stooges. Not necessarily in that order.
Don booked many of Chicago's top acts on the show, including B.B. King, the Staple Singers, and Curtis Mayfield, along with rising stars from across the country, like the O'Jays.
First time we met him was the first time we did the show. He was struggling to get his foot in the door. We were still struggling, trying to be a hit act. And automatically that made us become comrades and friends.
But the real stars of Soul Train were the local teens that Don recruited to dance on the show.
Kids would get out of school and line up at the bottom of the Board of Trade building.
We would get on that long line, and you go in a small elevator, and I swear to God that the dance studio was no bigger than my living room. If you knew, they put you in the back. So anytime the camera would come on, I would do something really cool. And all of a sudden they say, put that guy in the front. I say, all right, we're in the front now.
Just move on up toward your destination.
We had these little ghetto kids who got a chance to just dance their hearts out. They were the stars of the show.
The combination of enthusiasm